Morning kites and kestrels, welcome to Thursday's Talk for Writing session. So yesterday we went through the opening and today we're doing the build-up. So we have got a picture of our carriage that is going to be the item that we're going to be describing today, that is going to be in our Tale of Fear, which is obviously called Grove Station. Hopefully yesterday you came up with the title for yours, you came up with your new character, your new setting, and started to build a picture of your story really. So we're going to continue with our one today, with our carriage, and trying to think about how we can make it spooky and our character Olive coming across it.
So we left off with her walking, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
She's going, it got dark, the clouds gathered overhead, the car headlights, they started
to illuminate.
So I kind of want her to look in at what she's scared of.
Yeah.
So sometimes you face your fears, you go, ooh, should I be scared of it? Maybe she could.
So when Omar was peering, we could have Olive peering.
Yeah.
But obviously, what might she see? Well, she'll see something different than what Omar saw. So maybe there's work and sort of finishing up for the day.
Yeah. So then it's kind of giving that time like about 6 o'clock in the evening. It makes sense
so
why she's walking home from gymnastics.
Dumpsy weather and it's getting dark and not very nice.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
So
she's peering and it's probably going to have some sort of wired fence.
but again, it's old. So it's a shoes. It's going to be metal if it's left out in the rain.
Rusted.
Yeah, past tense, aren't we? It's ed suffix.
So she is going to be peering through.
Yeah, because they will have the holes. I'm thinking like a chain link fence. Might have some barbed wire at the top, but I think she's going to go through the gaps. So peering through, not over, because it's going to be really tall, because it's not going to be a very safe place for children to go in. So maybe we want to keep them out. Always got to think about the backstory, what's actually going on behind the scenes. It's got to make sense.
I've got my ing opener, so I put a comma after that.
Okay.
So again, past tense. She's not going to be watching or looking. She's going to have watched.
Past tense, ed. She watched the workmen locking up for the day, because they want to keep it secure, because again, it's not a very safe place for people just to go and play. They might have some valuable things, so we need to think about why they lock it up. And again, it might give that reader, they might be looking something dangerous inside it. We don't know.
Full stop at the end of my sentence.
Peering through the rusted wire fence, she watched the workman locking up for the day. Not just one workman plural.
Plural, yeah. So, something sort of got in Omar's way, so something going to get in Olive's way?
I think so, and I'm not particularly scared for her at the moment. I'm writing Tale of Fear, and when I think of Tale of Fear, they have an Alsatian.
Yeah, that barked.
And maybe that's that kind of guard dog, but I don't think we always need to stick that closely to the text.
No.
But I would like to use an animal, and when I think of scary things, I think about Halloween and how black cats are a bit.
They're be unlucky as well, aren't they?
They are, so maybe this is a sign or symbol to Olive, saying actually bad luck's going to happen. So maybe a black cat can cross her path. That's what people sometimes are a bit superstitious about, aren't they?
Definitely.
Getting all those ideas from what I know already and drawing them in together, it really helps to set the scene. Oh, we learnt about that yesterday, didn't we? Possession.
Yeah, making sure. And we haven't yet introduced our character in our new paragraph, so it's important that we do.
Otherwise we don't know who she is.
Do we want a conjunction there? We don't want that, do we? Just a short sentence.
Well, otherwise it's just a bit boring, it's be a bit random.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it?
black cat crossed Olive's path.
But,
That's a good one.
what do we use before but?
Come on.
Here we do. Remember the BOA, the lessons from Oak Academy.
So a black cat crossed Olive's path, comma, but is it gonna be interested in her?
I don't think so. I think it's probably got other ideas. I think actually it's just some detail we need to put in.
Maybe it's a stray cat, so it's not really that interested in
Yeah, that's quite
humans,
feral.
so
Okay.
but it didn't pay any attention to her.
Yeah.
and using that pronoun instead of saying it didn't pay any attention to Olive, it didn't pay any attention to her.
We don't want to use repetition too much, otherwise it does get a bit boring.
Do we want another sentence opener? Maybe a conjunction?
I think so, because we want to show the reader a range of skills we can do, but also to keep them interested. Because if we keep just using the same style, again we lose it. It doesn't flow as nicely.
So she was already in the last paragraph walking through the sort of empty train station. So maybe is she towards the end of it at this point?
Because she quickened her pace, and it won't be that long.
No. So is she sort of near the end of the path or the lane?
Well, I think we've used path already here, so if we say path again, it just, to me, I get really, really bored.
Yeah. And how can we describe that lane? They're not very wide, are they? So they're
Narrow. Because that's an antonym, isn't it? It's the opposite.
narrow lane.
Now, when we spoke about Tales of Fear, we spoke about weather a lot. Now, I know we spoke about the clouds gathering overhead, but we haven't really mentioned it, and I think that's a really key thing we need to include. So if the clouds gather,
And they're dark.
they're full of rain, aren't they?
Yeah, so it's going to start raining, pouring, and then maybe...
I just think it should be a lot. I think it should be a real contrast. I think,
Oh,
I know, some people say the heavens open.
let's go with that then. So as Olive neared the end of the narrow lane, the heavens opened.
I think that's great. Because other people say it started raining cats and dogs, but if you start picturing that as a reader, like cats and dogs falling from the sky, that takes away the fear. So I wouldn't pick that because it kind of makes me smile inside, feel a little bit warm. I want to feel scared.
Really scared. So yeah, that suggests it's really pouring heavily, and all of a sudden as well.
Can you explain to me why you haven't got an apostrophe S? Because I might be a bit unsure.
Oh, because it's talking about plural, so actually I don't need to, because it's no possession or contraction, so it's just a word of talking with an S at the end.
So I don't need to put an apostrophe because
No.
we've learned about them, so I know that people will be really keen to try and use them, but
And it's just because we've got S's at the end of words doesn't mean that we need it. So unless it's for a contracted form or to show possession of singular or plural, then it's not necessary.
yeah. Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
So we've said the clouds gathered, so obviously, and the heavens have opened now, so it's probably dark, so could we magnify that idea of it's getting dark, but change the character from mum being worried to dad?
I think that's a good idea because again, we don't have to in this process. In the Innovate Week, we can stick closely because we're only changing part of the story that we've learned to really learn those key skills to help use it to help us. Otherwise, we wouldn't really need to look at it in that much detail, but we have, so we may as well get all we can from it. Okay. Oh, semicolon. Nice range of punctuation. Why do we use that?
To show that we've got two linked ideas together in a sentence, but I've separated them with my semicolon.
Ah. Wonder if any of them could do semicolons.
So it was getting dark, dad would be wondering why she wasn't. That's linking that idea. So it would both of them. So instead of a conjunction, actually, it's used in replace of that, and it generates that same idea.
I like it. Let's just check, because again, we know we need to check through lots and lots. Are you going to have a go?
Would you like me to read through
I
it?
think you should have a go.
So, peering through the rusted wire fence, she watched the workmen locking up for the day. A black cat crossed Olive's path, but it didn't pay any attention to her. As Olive neared the end of the narrow lane, the heavens opened. It was getting dark. Dad would be wondering where she was.
I think it's the perfect time for a new paragraph.
We need to maybe change idea where we're going next, and we don't want really long paragraphs.
No, so, where do we want to go next? Now, this paragraph's about introducing what she's a bit scared of. you're out. Okay, it's a bit big. I almost think it's quite snake-like.
It is quite snake-like, isn't it?
That long body,
Mm.
and then actually we can make it feel like it doesn't move like a train.
No.
It doesn't have to go on the tracks.
No, and it probably would be sat sort of on a bit of broken track or something taken off of the actual main railway. We've also got like a grill bit here,
Oh, that could be mouth.
mouth,
Maybe we could have the teeth, like make some things about teeth, because I find teeth quite scary. If something's going towards you, like a shark, you think about sharks,
Yeah,
that's scary because
shark.
of their teeth and their mouth, because that dangerous. So maybe that's what we could add in.
And maybe that's the picture she's seeing from the front view of a carriage.
Yeah.
So it's like a face, isn't it? Anything that's front facing reminds you of a face.
But maybe if they're thinking about it in their stories and they're walking on the side of it, they might see a side profile and then get to the front profile. So it might just be like any other train.
Yeah,
And then they get to the front and they go, oh my goodness me.
definitely.
So let's think how we're going to put it into our writing, because we've got lovely ideas and we can talk about it really well. And then it gets going, oh, how do I write that? So you do have to put a lot of thought into it and go, okay, what do I actually want the reader to think? So I think
There's got to be some sound effect here that's going to be scary
To
and
start.
going to catch Olive's attention in this environment.
screeching,
Mm.
but I think we should use some empty words. We've told the reader quite a lot so far.
Yes.
So something,
Yeah, we don't want to let the reader know what it is yet.
No.
We don't want them to know. So maybe a sentence opener of suddenly, so an adverb. I'm going to indent my next paragraph.
I think we could use a range of punctuation here. We haven't really used an exclamation mark yet.
Oh, and it is exclaiming, isn't it? Something screeched.
Oh, nice alliteration.
There's alliteration there, isn't it? Lots of it. Suddenly, something screeched.
Now, I loved learning all the new vocabulary
Mm.
from Fowler's Yards. And again, they were great words for fear. So those noises, those sounds. And I love the word rasp. It sticks with me, and I think I'm going to write that. I've magpied it, and I'm going to keep it in my dictionary inside, and actually you'll probably see it in my writing a lot now, because actually I think it's great. So you might have found some of your new favourite words, but now you really want to put them into your work.
Mm. So we don't necessarily want the same adjective to describe the rasp that was in Fowler's Yard. So maybe we could change it to harsh
Yeah, I think that.
rather than sharp.
Yeah, I think harsh. Because again, it's quite a good synonym. I think I'm right. I think we should
Harsh.
name the metal.
Iron.
I think so.
Mhm.
I see iron.
So the harsh rasp of iron, it's going to make a sound, but we want it to sort of sound a bit scary and that sound to travel. So echoed.
Yeah, echo sounds good, because there's probably not just going to be one carriage there. There might be a few, and there's this one that is actually quite scary. They could echo around.
What the other things that might be around? So the other empty carriages.
Yeah. Maybe this is the one that the work when they're doing up.
Mm.
Maybe it's going to be used again. Wonder. Again, when you write, you want your reader to wonder things, you want them to question things, like we do when we read text in our talk for reading sessions. We wonder things, we puzzle things, and it just makes us think, and that's the lovely thing about stories. Suddenly something screeched. Harsh rasp iron echoed around the empty carriages.
She's going to have to see something, isn't she?
Yeah, the tension's building. We can't just keep
So
saying.
magpie from Fowler's Yard, then he saw something, so then she saw something.
Yeah. Remembering to change our pronouns.
So do we want to say what she saw, or again an empty word of then she saw it?
I think empty word. Because otherwise we're giving the reader too much too soon, and we're only in our build-up, so we need to build up to the problem, don't we?
And again, I'm magpieing that piece of punctuation from
What's that
Fowler's Yard. We've got a colon, so we had a semicolon, and now a colon, so now I need to think about what I might need to put next. So these introduce sometimes a list or other ideas, so actually then she saw it, and we could be saying what it is she saw. So eyes, they could. What's quite scary about what they might be doing?
If they're looking at her,
Needs to be more intense than that. Staring. So
Okay.
without looking away. Staring.
yeah, so that gaze is fixed
Mm.
upon her. A set of beady eyes staring in her direction.
Yeah.
Again, you can read it in that ominous voice. Just the way the tone you read it sometimes, that actually you think, oh.
I've got that full stop at the end of that sentence. So then, thinking, what's she going to do if she's now feeling scared?
I think, you know when you watch a horror film and you go,
Yeah, you don't want to see it anymore, do you? So you're covering up your eyes. So she's going to cover her eyes, I reckon. She doesn't want to see it anymore. She wants to hide from that experience.
maybe she's thinking, if I can't see it, it can't see me.
You want to blank out though. Listen to a horror film as well. Even if you cover your eyes, you can still hear it. So what might you do to cover that sound? She's covering her face. She can't cover her ears as well. So maybe she'll have to make a noise that's louder.
Maybe she's going to have to hum. Like maybe sometimes, I do this when I'm riding, if I'm feeling a little bit scared, I sing to myself or I hum to myself a tune to keep me happy, and that kind of calms me down a little bit. So in a scared situation, sometimes songs might help you, so we can magnify our own experiences and put it into our writing.
So Olive covered her eyes and began to hum to herself.
I think she's quite fearful. I think we can start our next sentence with an ly opener.
An adverb, fearfully then. Again, with that comma after my sentence opener.
We're moving it on because you can't just stand there.
No.
Because that can't be the end of our story. We need to move it on.
So she's going to have to uncover her eyes, and she's going to have to, maybe something's changed, maybe something's approached her, or she's been stood there still, but maybe not everything else has.
Maybe it's something's moved towards her.
So, fearfully, rather than, I don't want to repeat Olive, do I? I don't want to keep writing the same.
Pronoun she.
Yeah, so, fearfully, she uncovered, using that prefix to show the opposite of what she'd done previously. So covered to uncovered. Again, I could say, I can link and be specific about her eyes. And then moving on to, again, that empty word. I don't want to say what's maybe come towards her, so I could say it again,
Yeah.
where I said she'd seen it, and then she's uncovered her eyes, and it had moved. Sometimes you don't want to give too much away.
No, and I think that's the best type of story, and the best type of tale's fear, because we're not giving it away. We put that detail in, okay, and it hides it until we get to that point, and we go, ah. So we want that reader to feel that, like, oh, I wanted to know what it was. I wonder what it is.
So now we're going to have to tell the reader what it is.
Okay.
We're going to have to say, it's a carriage, don't we?
Yeah. But I think, again, I really liked in Fowler's Yard how they went, it was, I can't remember the word, but it was something that unlike others they'd seen before.
Yeah, so actually, it's something that's unfamiliar, and that's what suggests the fear as well. It's something that they should maybe be familiar with, but they're not. So because it's so different. So we could say it was a carriage. But like
No other she'd ever seen. And I like the word, I want to add to it. I want to think about her imagination, because you might not have seen it, but you might not have ever imagined it. Not in your wildest nightmares or in your wildest dreams, you would have ever imagined a carriage with eyes and it moves towards her. She might not have ever thought about it like that. She might have had another fear about the train station, about other things. She might just think it's a bit of a dangerous place in the shadows, but actually, it's the carriage.
So adding that on, definitely. So no, it was a carriage, but like no other she had ever seen or imagined. I think we need a short, powerful sentence here.
I think she's going to be stuck to the spot
froze.
That's a good way of saying it. And I think we use she a lot, so I think we need to put her name back in, just so the reader does remember.
So Olive froze.
I think, can you see this bit here? It looks like it's made of aluminium. I
Oh,
think
it does.
maybe could be the nose.
Yeah,
Maybe it like twitched.
yeah. So that movement of how your nose might twitch.
Because a train carriage wouldn't do that. We're personifying this a little bit, aren't we?
So thinking that I want, for my article, I want an aluminium. So an aluminium nose twitched. I don't think my sentence should end there though, because we've already just used a short sentence.
We have, so we want to her range. So we're thinking that, well, if that's the eyes and mouth, so we said again about sharks and teeth. I don't just want to say teeth, it's boring. Can you think of another word for teeth?
Gnashers.
Oh, yeah.
Not a very often used word, but I like the word gnashers. Show us your gnashers. Good old grin. But this isn't grinning. This is going to be aggressive, isn't it? And scary. I'm thinking what dogs do when they're maybe
Snarl.
yeah, growl. Ooh.
That's
So, and again, I want to talk about the material. So I can say steel. Gnashers is a funny word because it's got a silent letter at the start of it. Gnashers growled at her. In there, full stop.
Right, let's read through and see how we've gone.
From the beginning,
I think so.
so peering through the rusted wire fence, she watched the workmen locking up for the day. A black cat crossed Olive's path, but it didn't pay any attention to her. As Olive neared the end of the narrow lane, the heavens opened. It was getting dark. Dad would be wondering where she was. Suddenly, something screeched. The harsh rasp of iron echoed around the empty carriages. Then she saw it, a set of beady eyes staring in her direction. Olive covered her eyes and began to hum to herself. Fearfully, she uncovered her eyes and it had moved. It was a carriage, but like no other she had seen or imagined. Olive froze, an aluminium nose twitched and steel gnashers growled at her.
Feeling scared, but we don't want to go too far wrong because then that's going to be a problem. I think maybe we could extend.
Definitely, we could have a lot more description here, particularly about this carriage, and I think whatever object they're going to choose in their setting, I want a lot of description. That's our real focus for this unit.
Yeah. So I think the key thing to remember when you have a go at yours is to read what you wrote yesterday and make sure it flows really well and fits, because actually ours might not be fitting to yours. So
No.
you really need to think, oh, do my ideas link? Does it make sense? Okay.
And try and link those ideas. Like we were discussing the weather that we'd written about yesterday is now thinking about what we said about those clouds, and then that's why that it's now going to rain. So we're not changing it massively. We're using those ideas, just expanding on them and extending them today.
But again, that will be on your planning that you did a couple of days ago. You know what's coming. So yes, we've shown you a way you can do it, but it's you putting your ideas into the best way you can. So making sure you're using a range of punctuation.
I was going to say a range of punctuation is really key in this bit, even more so than the opening, because in here we've gone from capital letters, commas, full stops, apostrophes, exclamation mark, colon, semicolon. I think that's a lot of punctuation, and I'm really hoping that we see a range in theirs as well.
And yeah, it will really show us how great writers that they are. But as well as the punctuation, it's not all just about the punctuation. It's about the content. It's about actually, am I as a reader getting enough detail?
video, or sorry, closer picture of this in case you can't see it easily on this video, on the website as well, so make sure you have a nice close look at it to help you.
Brilliant.
Can't wait to see what you've written.